We had to stay at someone's house. This stressed me out more than worrying about the cost of living.
We can't stand living for even a week in the flat in Yangon.
The UN says there are over 3 million internally displaced people, or IDPs, in Myanmar now. Many are living in camps or makeshift shelters. Some have been able to move to the relative safety of towns or cities. But even this can be challenging. The urban IDPs have to survive in an alien and often costly environment, with little assistance. Hello and welcome to Do Othan, a weekly podcast about human rights stories from Myanmar. It's brought to you by Fondation Hirondelle. This episode is produced by a freelance journalist. Names and voices may have been changed to protect contributors.
It took us almost 10 days. That's quite hard. I had to make sure my children didn't get sick. I tried not to worry. I knew if I let myself go, that everything would fall apart. I made up my mind that I would overcome this. If not, I would fail.
Thida has become one of the latest people displaced by the conflict sparked by the military coup in Myanmar. But she's not in a camp. She's an urban IDP. She and her mother and 2 children travelled from Thandwe town in Rakhine State to Yangon in early July. They had to travel via Gwa and then various points in Ayeyarwady region. They're among thousands who have had to flee from conflict in southern Rakhine in recent months, as the Myanmar army has tried desperately to stop the Arakan army gaining yet more territory. The AA now controls 9 of 17 townships in Rakhine and has even reached Gwa. That left civilians asking, where could they go in Rakhine or even Ayeyarwady that might be safe from conflict? Thida and her family chose to go to Yangon. The journey cost her about 15 lakhs, or over $700 at official exchange rates. They stayed with relatives there for a while, but that was difficult.
We had to stay at someone's house. They ran a grocery store at the house. We have 2 kids. The kids took the things off the shelves. They were kind of causing trouble. Although they let us stay because we are IDPs, we had to be mindful of the situation. This stressed me out more than worrying about the cost of living.
Goswal is a Yangon resident who used to work in Rakhine State. He and around 20 friends are trying to help the displaced people from Thandwe to find homes and jobs. He and others estimate there are about 2,000 IDPs from Thandwe now staying in mostly Shui Pitha, Langthaya, Thakata and Kamayut townships. There's little assistance available for them. Many are staying with relatives and friends, but Goswal says it's difficult for everyone.
They begged the hosts to let them stay in their small house. You know, in Yangon, hosts only want to let guests stay for 3 or 4 days. A small house is not comfortable for 4 or 5 people, elderly people and others. Some of them have to share a bamboo bed together.
Gone Win and his wife and 2 children, aged 7 and 5, also fled to Yangon from Thandwe in July. They managed to find a flat to rent on the 6th floor of an apartment building in Thakata township. But things are made more complicated and expensive by the guest registration system and extortion from local officials.
Here, we have to get a guest registration booklet to rent a house and be registered and be able to stay. We have to bring that booklet to report weekly and pay 500 or 1,000 jat. At first, we had to pay 5,000 or 10,000 jat to get a guest registration booklet. The price varies in different quarters.
They're living in a 12-foot by 20-foot room and paying 2.5 lakhs a month, which is about $120 at official exchange rates. The family used to live in a house in Thandwe with an acre of land, so the kids had plenty of space to run around in. They can't find schools for the kids yet, so everyone is going a bit stir-crazy.
We can't stand living for even a week in the flat in Yangon. Frankly, it's not okay for me and my children to live here. The lifestyle, including health, is not okay. My children are throwing tantrums and asking to go back home. They keep telling me that they don't want to live here.
But it's hard even to find space like this. Landlords might be reluctant to rent to IDPs because of the extra bureaucracy and because they're outsiders. Doathan heard this from one landlady.
If they want to rent, I cannot rent to them immediately because I don't know them. Because they're IDPs, they cannot rent easily. They have to sort out the guest registration matters at the local administration office. As I'm renting out to people I don't know, I have to explain the terms and conditions of the rent to them. And I can only rent to them after a thorough background check.
Goswal says some landlords are actually increasing the rents because they know these IDPs have very little choice. But he says rents are also increasing because many people are struggling to make ends meet.
The rent's increasing. That's the problem. For a 250,000 Jat flat, they're asking for 300,000. Business hasn't been good. Jobs are getting more scarce. IDPs have to sell the few things they own to buy food.
Gone Win is quite aware there are others from Thandwe worse off than him in Yangon, living in tight spaces with friends or relatives, or even living in monasteries. And in fact, there are an estimated 10,000 people from Thandwe Township who couldn't afford to leave at all and are living in IDP camps there. But having chosen Yangon, Gone Win is dealing with high living costs and rising commodity prices. He has to find a job soon in order to support his family.
In Yangon, commodity prices are increasing a lot, and it's getting very difficult to make money. I don't know what business to do. People who have moved from the rural areas don't have connections in Yangon and don't know which business is profitable. It makes it very difficult for us.
In his hometown, Gone Win ran a beetle shop and his wife gave tuition to kids. He says he could also catch fish from the streams to feed his family or buy on credit from some shops. But in Yangon, he says he can't even drink water for free. Gone Win and other Thandwe IDPs in Yangon don't know when they might be able to return home or what they might find when they go back.
We had to leave everything behind. I worry that our house will be burned to ashes. But even if our house is left undamaged, we won't know if we can still make a living like before. It will be very difficult to survive.
Thanks for listening to this edition of Doathan. We'd welcome your feedback on social media, and please follow or subscribe to our pages. This project on human rights reporting is supported by Fondation Hirondelle with the help of our donors. You can listen to our podcasts via the Doathan Facebook page. They can also be found on SoundCloud, YouTube, iTunes, Spotify and Telegram. You can also listen every Saturday night from 9 to 10 p.m. and Sunday morning from 6 to 7 a.m. on Voice of America Radio. Please tune in again next week.